Hello, and welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm your host, Chantel Cox. My purpose is to empower and lift up others who know in their heart they're meant for more. More joy, more impact, and more passion. If you're ready to make a radical transformation and create a life that you love, then you have come to the right place. Let's do this. Hello. Welcome to today's super special episode of the Create a Life You Love video podcast, where we connect with people from all over the world to share tips and strategies that are designed to help you on your journey. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Chantel Cox. I am an author, transformation neurocoach, who helps women that are facing life transitions turn their transition into their triumphant transformation. So for those of you who maybe haven't joined us before, this is being live streamed. So please feel free to put comments and questions in the chat, and we will get to them as it makes sense in our flow. And if you are catching the replay, just go ahead and use hashtag replay, and we will be sure to respond later. All right. You are in for a treat, and you definitely want to stay with us until the very end because we have a super exciting announcement. And our guest, Sarah, has created a special gift just for you that she is offering for free. So definitely stay tuned. Okay, let's get this party started. I'm super excited to introduce you to my very good friend, Sarah Nykoruk. We got to meet during our neurocoaching certification, and we just love finding new and creative ways to collaborate. Sarah is also an educator, and she is an education coach with over 20 years of experience. She's also a Master NeuroCoach and a certified RRT Tapping coach. She is the creator of the Accelerated Transformation Method and the host of the Teaching Little Brains podcast. Hello, Sarah. How are you today?
Hi, Chantel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be invited in your space. I know how important your people are to you, and I'm really happy to be bringing RRT here. And I always love talking with you. It's always such a treat, and I'm doing very well, thank you.
I love it. So you are a busy lady after all the things that I just listed off that you have going on. It's amazing. So share with us, like, where are you joining us from?
So I'm in Ontario, Canada, in a small town about an hour and a half west of Toronto.
Oh, very cool. Done a lot of international travels, but have not made my way up to Canada yet. So maybe when all this is done, we can finally meet in person someday.
That'd be awesome. You're welcome anytime.
Awesome. Um, so go ahead and share with us a little bit about your journey. So just what have you been through? What got you to where you are today? Your journey of creating a life that you love.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I've been in education for 22 years officially, but I've been a teacher pretty much my whole life. I decided in kindergarten I wanted to be a teacher because I wanted to do check marks and I wanted to write on the blackboard. So my purpose has evolved since then, thank goodness. But yeah, so I've been officially an educator for over 20 years. And I kind of have always done things differently in education. I have a sort of different idea of what is good and right for kids as compared to what the system is kind of telling us to do. And so I've always kind of stretched the edges of things and, taken outside and all that kind of good stuff. But when you asked me this question before, I was like, I always kind of have loved my life. So I'm not sure about, how did I create a life I love? But then I realized, you know what, before I learned these tools, I didn't realize that I was creating my life. I just kind of was going along with life and liked it. I've always been kind of, optimistic. Some people say dreamer. um, Kind of just, being grateful for what I have, not questioning anything, not even realizing I could, and not realizing that I was in fact a creator of my life, but that I was creating it unconsciously, and not understanding that I could actually consciously create a life that I love and choose all of these things. And so that happened at a point where I was an educational coach. So I was actually a literacy coach at the time that I discovered this stuff. And I was working in other teachers' classrooms, and I was in primary grades. So I was in a grade 1 classroom, and I was helping out with literacy, and again doing things a different way. So we were like building our writing and constructing writing and making writing. And uh, a little boy ran out of the suddenly, it was seemed sudden to me, ran out of the classroom, and at 6 years old ran out of the classroom. I chased him because I was in sort of the extra hands. So I went, not chased him, but I followed him, and he was banging his head against the wall, calling himself stupid. And I thought, so at this point, I was starting to listen to Jim Quick and some really cool like memory tips and brain hacks and stuff. And I thought, learning tricks and all these things. And I thought, this is really cool. Kids would love this. It would be really useful in school. And then this almost simultaneously was happening with this boy running out of the classroom. And he tended to do this. And, you know, we, as a system, tend to, as you know, address behavior and action. And we don't get to what's behind it often. And so I did not yet have all of these skills, but I had a little taste to where I kind of changed my approach and just connected with him first. And like when he was saying I was stupid, my inclination is to say like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Don't say that about yourself, you know. But having had a little bit of the neuro coaching exposure at this time, I was like, oh, that must feel really heavy to think that about yourself, and just connected and really empathized with him. And it kind of really subsided things quite quickly. And then I realized, you know, from that little bit that I had, the hint that I had already, like, this is bigger than some memory tricks and tips. This is like, we're dealing with mental health and wellness here and emotional balance and all that kind of stuff. And so um, I, I dug a little deeper. I followed more, and I came across the neuro coaching program that we met in. Thank goodness I did it. Thank goodness I said yes to myself. And you also, because we never would have met otherwise. But then I learned, like, you know, mind boggling, but such a simple thing that we can actually choose our thoughts. And I thought, I say this all the time, like, am I the slowest person in the world to the game, or are we actually not taught this? And whenever I share that, people are like, no, what do you mean? Like, we can choose our thoughts. Like, we just think, you know, our thoughts come along. It's like life comes along, and you like, oh, okay, this is great. You know, that's how kind of I was going through. I didn't realize I could actually stop and consider and choose and direct things. So then I started implementing the neuro coaching tools that I was learning. And then I came across RRT tapping, and that just once again changed the game for me. And so I've put these two things together, and that's how I've really not only created a life I love, but accelerated that creation, like, oh my gosh, like 100-fold. And so yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, I love it. You've had quite the journey, and it's so funny that, you know, we met through the program, the neurocoaching certification, but our journeys kind of are very similar in a lot of ways, but then also different. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I love connecting with you and the other neuro coaches. And, you know, we try to do what we can to collaborate as much as possible and support each other. And I know there's some on live with us right now. So hello, thank you for being here. Hello, hello. And we do already have a comment in the chat. Teresa Lynn Baxter says she is amazing. Make life your ATM.
It's so true.
I love it. So thinking back on kind of your journey, and I know, you know, you're also a coach, and so you're helping people. So what are some of the tips that you've learned along the way that you help spread?
Oh boy. So, so many tips. Number one was that was the hugest eye opener to me, was that we could choose our thoughts. And in fact, everything is a choice. And that one was like, but hold up, like not everything's a choice. Like I can't, choose, whether I work or not. Well, actually you can. So like realizing that everything is a choice. And I heard this great quote. Oh, I tried to remember it. I heard it this morning. Um, and it was so good. Oh, here we go. Life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by choice. And I thought, whoa, that's a good one. So everything is a choice. And I'm not talking about like, oh, this happens. And so you can choose to be happy or you can choose to be sad about it. That's part of it. But in the tapping in RRT and in sort of my coaching and things that I've gathered and, all the things that I've learned and the tools that I've gathered, I realized like we aren't taught to feel our feelings. We're taught to suppress our feelings, some of them, and we're taught to, like, if you think of anything, any feeling, even like excitement, we're allowed to be excited. That's a good one, except not too excited because that makes people uncomfortable, right? Or something, or they have judgments about you. But we're not supposed to feel angry or sad. We always tell you like, oh, stop crying. Oh, don't be angry. It's not worth getting mad over. And so we're very well practiced at suppressing our feelings. And that's where things start to go wrong. When we suppress our feelings, it causes all kind of clog up in our systems and can cause physical problems. And so I say this because I don't mean like ignore the negative emotions and only focus on the positive. That's how we end up in these problems in the first place. We need to acknowledge and work through the negative emotions. Negative emotions, negative thoughts are like clues to things that are blocking us. Our resistance is like a clue to things we need to clear out so we can fit in the good stuff that we want to put into the life we love. And so it's like having a closet, a full closet, and buying new things that you think are going to make you happy and trying to jam them in there. It's not going to work. You got to clear out some of the gunk, some of the old stuff first. I call it the emotional gunk that's stuck inside of us. So the tapping helps to do that. So realizing everything is a choice, choosing to do the things that you like to do more often than the things that you don't like to do. So actually acknowledging what you actually want, getting clear about what it is you want, setting that vision for what the life that you want, and then taking the action steps, becoming the person that would be, who do you imagine would have that life, and sort of start becoming that person. And these are just like, the basic big scale sort of steps. There are a lot of nuances, and this is what the coaching helps with, because the theory seems so simple, which it is, but the steps that you take, it's not always easy. It's simple but not easy, right? So, but essentially, yes, you're making choices all the time. Choose the things you like to do over the things you don't like to do as often as you possibly can. You can choose your thoughts, at least stop to think about them and consider them and decide. Like, you literally can choose to believe whatever you want. So you might as well choose to believe the good stuff, that stuff that makes you feel good and that is true, like to you. Like, take a moment and sit with yourself and tune out all of the noise of other people's expectations and the good points that those people make. And my parents want me to do this and society wants me to do that. And really sit with yourself and ask yourself, what do I want? And then it's like choosing to embody, meaning choosing to think, choosing to feel how the person that would have that would think and feel and do and embody. And so really like learning that it's kind of fun to play with. It can seem scary at first, which is what, I'm so glad I had coaches for, because that it helps, especially to get you started. And once you get the hang of it, it's kind of fun to play around in your brain and see where you can take your life. And what else do I want to create? And like, well, let's try this. And I always say, like, try things on. If you don't like the thoughts that you're having, or you don't like the feelings you're experiencing and you want to have different ones, try it on, see how it fits, right? This is your life. So yeah, choosing thoughts, knowing that all emotions are okay, and working through them with something like tapping or coaching has really helped me. And like, just say yes to yourself, give yourself the life you love. You're going to go after whatever you show your brain is what your brain's going to drive you to. So you might as well show it what you actually want, because otherwise, like someone said to me, if you don't know where you're going, you might not like where you ended up. So you got to create that vision, and then, you know, make the choices to get you there.
I love it. And I just love how like passionate you are about it. And like, yeah, I just love hearing you explain it and talk about it and share your little tidbits of knowledge you've learned along your journey.
Well, the thing too, Chantel, is like, what really saddened me, and this was part of like my decisions to make my life like a conscious creation, was like hearing this stuff. And then, the boy, seeing the cases of like I said to you, the boy that, would run out of the classroom and bang his head against the wall and call himself stupid. And I thought a few things. So number one, like, what are we doing to these kids? Like I said, I have a different idea of what school needs to be, in my opinion. But like, what happens to kids? They come, like, I have a 6-year-old, almost 7, and like watching her from a toddler, like they're so inquisitive and excited and passionate. And then by the time they get to grade 2, like I feel sometimes schooled out of them all of that passion and excitement and inquisitiveness. And we put them in boxes. And then what happens, like what's happened to us, the two of us going through this, we get to where we are now. And along this journey, for example, I was hearing from and listening to podcasts and meeting people that were like, oh, I wish I had learned this in school, because they're so passionate about what they do now. But they had to like slog through school for like 14 years, then come out and then either teach themselves something or figure out how to learn it from somebody else. And they just were like, I wish I had learned this in school. I would have been so excited. I would have been lit up. And I think, what a waste of time. Like, why aren't we my dream is that kids will instead say, I learned this in school, instead of what I wish I had learned this in school. And so all the things that I've learned now, the other thing that really drove me was when you talk to people my age, I'm not gonna say our age because I think I'm much older than you, but and we look back and they're kind of, maybe their kids are independent, or you talk to a lot of people who are going through transition, and some of that transition is like empty nest. And then you're like, well, what do you love to do? What are you going to do with yourself now? What are you going to do with your time? And they're like, oh, I don't really know. Well, what lights you up? What's your passion? They're like, I don't know. That, number one, is sad. And then we have to ask, okay, what did you love to do as a kid? And then I think, why do we have to look all the way back to our childhood to remember what lights us up and sets our heart on fire? And that's sad. And then on top of that, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't remember. And then that's even worse. And I thought, this cannot happen anymore. Like, we need to be fueling these passions and keeping these kids lit up, and tapping into, excuse the pun, their passion all along, so that they're creating a life that they love, and they know that they're able to, and they have all this knowledge about being the conscious creators of their life from kindergarten. Like, let's use school for that. Imagine what the world would be if everybody were living a life they love, if everybody came from love. Like, oh my goodness. So sorry that I cut you off there, but that's kind of like the thing that really drove me too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I read my first self-help book until after my divorce. So like in my early 30s. And I remember as I was learning more and diving into that, I don't know, just learning. And I was so thirsty for it too, and just couldn't get enough. I just book after book, podcast after podcast. I mean, it gets kind of overwhelming, which thankfully then I found coaching and got a direction and was able to just cut through the BS so much quicker. But yeah, I just remember being like, if I knew this stuff when I was 10, where could I be in life at 30 instead of figuring it out at 30 and then you have to go back and repair all these things, undo damage that you've done.
Exactly. And another story that really just hit me when it was the day after or the same day that I was like signing up for the neurocoaching program, was in the neighboring school district next to ours. A 10-year-old girl had committed suicide because she was being bullied. And my thought was, all of the people involved, the bullies or the kids who were doing the bullying, like her, had these tools. Like you said, if we had learned this, like why, like, and you know what else floors me is when I read a book by somebody who, like a self-help book, like you said, or a personal development book, like you said, that is like from like 19 whatever, like, or this has been around for 30 years or 40 years, and I think, what, like, how am I just learning about this now? Like, this book was written in 1984 and it's like based on a 20-year study. What? Like, this is important things. These are the important things in life, right? Like, I don't need to learn how to wire an electrical circuit at 15. I need to know how my brain is working and how to follow my passion. Yeah. Anyways, sorry. I know we have two educationalists here, so we could go on forever.
Go on for a while. Yes. So I do definitely want to save time and really dig into a little bit about what tapping is, because a lot of the people in my audience are maybe new in the personal development world as well. And tapping has been around for a long time, but really has not been popular, and maybe out in bigger cities on the coast it has, but here in Kansas, it's kind of just now making its way here. So I don't know that very many people even know what that is. So can you kind of give us an overview?
Sure, yeah. So tapping, if you've heard of tapping, you may have heard of the emotional freedom technique, or EFT. But an RRT is kind of, it's based on that, because the creator of RRT, which stands for Rapid Relief Technique, Sarah Longoria, she is a certified EFT practitioner. And she kind of stumbled on RRT, which I'll talk to, but all the benefits are the same. They're very similar and also very ish different. So I'll explain them. But she was with her young kids. And if you're a parent, you've been there. So she had two young kids, and it was just a day. And she was like about to turn into Monster Mummy and didn't want to. So she made sure the kids were safe, and she locked herself in the bathroom so that she could do her regular EFT tapping. And what she found was, so in regular EFT, you have like tapping is basically, they found that when you tap, so where we have these acupuncture points that line up, that I keep wanting to use the word tap into, that link up with these meridians, which they actually now have been able to visibly see in our body. They've been able to track how the energy flows in our body by inserting blue dye into these points, these tapping points that link up to the meridians. So the meridians, there are 12 in your body, and they carry energy through your body, and that energy goes through your organs and all these kind of systems. And so if you've ever had acupuncture, they put acupuncture needles in certain places. And they actually found that you can tap on these places instead of getting needles injected, and it does the same thing. And the benefits are like, lowered cortisol, calms your amygdala, so therefore it reduces stress and anxiety, lowers blood pressure, improves sleep, all this kind of stuff. So those are the benefits of and a little bit of the science of tapping. And so Sarah Longoria had gone into the washroom and was just doing her EFT tapping that she had learned. But in EFT, you have a setup phrase. So it's something like, even though I'm feeling angry, I deeply love and accept myself. And in that moment, she did not feel like she was, feeling angry. She didn't feel like she was deeply loving and accepting herself. She was, first of all, really mad and worked up, and second of all, judging herself, which we tend to do because, like I said, we're not taught to actually feel or embrace our emotions, especially the negative ones. We're taught that those are dangerous and bad and we shouldn't have them. And so she was then judging herself for feeling angry at her like 2-year-old, which is a perfectly natural thing, by the way. And so she just started like tapping, but like saying all the things. Now she was like whisper yelling. Again, if you're a parent, you know what this is, or a teacher probably. Whisper yell. And so she was saying all the things and tapping on these spots. And it quickly calmed her, like the emotional charge in a matter of a couple of minutes completely disappeared. And she was like, whoa, I think I'm onto something here. So she got a couple of her friends, and then she was able to like walk out of the washroom and lovingly address her kids. And even they had calmed down. And she was like, we proceeded with our day. She went back to this and was like, shared it with a couple of friends. Can you try this? Because I feel like this might be something. And so tapping is a way to immediately and drastically reduce your like stress response, anxiety, all the like worked up emotions, but in a healthy way where it still allows the energy to flow through your system. Because what happens when we suppress our emotions is we just clog up, the energy gets stuck, and then we end up with like pains and diseases and illnesses and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. It's just so cool to hear you talk about it. And I've heard about acupuncture and I've never ever been like, you know what I want to try? Let's stick some needles in me and go pay somebody a ridiculous amount of money to do so. So I love that you can do it with tapping on certain,
Yeah.
like
You
that's
don't
amazing.
you don't need an appointment. You don't need, it's free. It's less painful. I mean, I don't know. Some people are afraid of needles, like, which you can also tap on. It helps with phobias and stuff. So, but yeah, it's really cool.
That's just so awesome. Um, okay, so let me go over here to the chat real quick because we've got some um, comments here. And anybody, as you're watching live or the replay, if you have a comment or a question, just go ahead and throw it in the chat. And so Jean is on live with us. Hi, Jean, a fellow Master NeuroCoach. She says, love that. Choose what I want. So yes, you get to choose your thoughts, choose your life. And then she said, so it's not a guessing game. So that was something you were talking about that I can't remember right this second. And then she said, you're so right, Sarah, helping our kids to find and maintain their passions. Yes. So Jean is also a fellow educator and neurocoach that is working with kids and parents, specifically around kind of some reading struggles, especially really targeting dyslexia. So she's got a lot of really cool things going on too. Okay, so just wanted to make sure we were getting to those as we proceed. So I love to ask everybody that I connect with if they have any daily non-negotiables, because I really believe, and this is what I work with my clients on, that it's those little things that you do each day that end up giving you big results. It's not the huge thing. Today I ran a marathon. Well, that's great. But what were the tiny little things you had to do over a period of time to get you to there? So what are some of your daily non-negotiables?
Yeah, aside from like brushing my teeth and getting dressed and stuff, right? Yes. Okay. So
I approve of you brushing your teeth. Yes.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I have them now. And before, I mean, I'm sure lots of people can relate. Like, who's got time to meditate, for example, is one of my daily non-negotiables. And I remember being there and And I heard all the time that really annoying phrase that I felt like, yeah, but you don't know my life, was like, nobody has the time. We make the time. But if you listen, if you want to create a life you love, you make the time for stuff that's important. And like if your doctor called and said, look, you got 24 hours to live unless you spend 2 hours a day relaxing, unplugged from everything, then you'll live forever as long as you want to, but you have to do that 2 hours a day. You'd make the time. So really again, everything's a choice. And I know that sounds trite and like you probably want to throw a shoe at me, but when you really embrace that, it's just so true. I can't even express to you how true it is. And so my daily non-negotiables are that I now make time for meditation, exercise. I'm working on 20 seconds of a cold shower every morning, which some days is easier than others. I'm trying to work up to 2 minutes. I'm still working up to 20 seconds. I try getting outside every day. Brain priming, which is something that we do in our neurocoach. We learned from neurocoaching, which is like massive to your success. And just being aware of my thoughts, like being the conscious creator of the life that I want and love. I feel like I have a lot of things that like I need to do, like eating healthy, having my shake, like all those things. But really, my definite bottom line non-negotiables: get up at 5 a.m. so I can fit them in, kind of things. Sometimes are meditation, exercise, getting outside, brain priming. So,
That's awesome. And
something I was gonna say. Oh,
sorry, I don't want to
I
interrupt.
know. No, you're good. I
Um,
actually just thought of something when I was mentioning like trying things on, trying thoughts on and choosing thoughts. So one thing was time. Boy, oh boy, right? I never have time. I'm going to run out of time. We don't have time for that. Blah, blah, blah. I found myself, this is the fun part I was talking about. I found myself saying those words either in my head or out loud over and over. And I thought, what kind of message or what kind of reality is that perpetuating? Is perpetuating that I don't have time, I'm running out of time, I'm going to be late, blah blah blah. And I thought, that doesn't feel good to me. I want to choose a different um, vision or image of time, because time is something that we made up as humans. So therefore, we can choose to believe whatever we want about it. And so I started throwing in a phrase that I have more than enough time to do everything I want and need. I have more than enough time to do everything I want and need. And I even added, after I tried that one on, and I found very quickly it became true. And I see evidence of it all the time, which is brain priming. You're priming your brain to see evidence of what you're telling it. Um, I added on, the more I want to do, the more time I have to do it. And I can't tell you what a difference that is. And so that allows me, I feel, to get those non-negotiables in every day.
I love it. It's so powerful and so true. Can you share with us a little bit about, because that's where you are now, and if we have the same conversation in 6 months, I'm sure you will have grown. So kind of at the beginning of your journey, what was maybe something that helped you? Because we don't start day one with this list of non-negotiables. You start with one thing, like, and I didn't add in meditation until quite a while later. It's been pretty recent because I was like, oh, again, who has time? And well, that's weird. And how does that work? And I just had a lot of skepticism and resistance to it. And then finally tried it. And I was like, oh, that it quieted my brain. And again, starting small and building. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I, oh gosh, how did this come about? So I feel like ultimately it was, I decided, I got to a point where I was like, no, I want to do this. And therefore I started asking myself, like, how do I make this work? Instead of like, oh, how am I supposed to do this? Or I can't fit this in. Again, it's like noticing what wording you're using with your thoughts. And so I started looking at things like, what do I want to, like, just like you say, like, make a list of the things that you want in your life, and start asking yourself, how might I fit this in? And your brain doesn't like open loops. It doesn't like questions left hanging in the air. And so it will start to answer those even when you're sleeping. And so then I was like, well, I need to leave for work at 7. So if I want to meditate, I need to get up, if I brush my teeth, I've backwards planned and realized, okay, I need to get up at this time. And then I thought, okay, am I willing to do that? Well, I'm willing to try it. So let's try it. And if it doesn't fit there, I can move it somewhere else. And so I really just kind of looked at pragmatically, I looked at my day and thought, where can I slot it in? Right. So often we think we don't have time, but really we're using up time for other things. And so which things are important enough to shift other things around for? And so I was like, when I first started meditating, I was like, well, I was teaching. So I'm like, well, second break, I can do 15 minutes. And so I would close my door, and I was in other people's schools. So I had to sometimes be in the closet or the staff room. And I just really quickly got over. People will kind of ask you really what are you doing? And then I was like, well, I'm meditating. You kind of have to get comfortable. But I started, like you said, I started with one thing, found out where it could fit, tried it out. Then, I stacked onto that. So if you've ever heard of habit stacking, it's kind of where you attach one habit to one that you always do. If you always brush your teeth, it's a good thing to stack onto. After I brush my teeth, I will then put on my exercise or my workout shoes, for example. And so I started small, I habit stacked. And I just kind of decided, I kind of decide once something becomes important, then I figure out how to make it work. And then I try it and play around with it. So I guess that's how I did it. And then I just built on to that.
Awesome. Yes, because I know, just thinking back to the beginning of my journey, when people would list out, it was overwhelming. And I'm like, well, I could never do that. So why even try and start? But when I got over that, and I was like, just try one thing, focus on one thing, celebrate the successes when I'm doing that one thing, celebrate the growth, notice the growth. And then when you're ready, add in something else or extend that one thing or whatever. Because I know for me, it was the gratitude journal that just was my starting point. And again, just like with the meditation, I had so much resistance. And yeah, it's just funny how we progress. So wherever anybody is in their journey, you can start somewhere, you can say yes to yourself in some way.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Yes. So, we are going to link all of your links for where people can connect with you. And so we'll get that in the replay/show notes, depending if you're looking at this on a Facebook replay or hearing about it on the podcast. But so real quick, can you kind of run through some of the big places where you hang out at online?
Sure. Sometimes I'm bad at hanging out online, but I have a Facebook group called Teaching Little Brains. I have my Instagram is teaching.little.brains. And I have a podcast that you can find on my website. My website is sarahnykoruk.com. Website building is not my forte, so just heads up warning that it is a very basic shell of a site, but my podcast is on there, and you can also link to my calendar from there and connect with me there as well.
Awesome. And again, we start somewhere. Guess what? You have a website, and at one point you didn't. So
gross. No, I do. And I never have to start from scratch again.
Yes, I love it. So you have created an amazing resource. I had so much fun getting to preview it. And it's going to help anybody that's watching, listening, to really get a jump start on their RRT tapping journey. And I cannot believe it, but you are allowing everyone to access it for free, which is incredibly gracious. So thank you so much. But before we dive into that, at the beginning, I mentioned that there's a special announcement. So who's ready to hear that? I'd wait. There's a lag on the Facebook. I'd love to see all the me. I want to know. So just going to pretend like you're going to do that and go forward. So, as we mentioned, Sarah and I love to connect and collaborate. And so we have taken a lot of that, what we shared with you today, and combined it into a 12-week journey. And we are hand selecting a very, very small group of women that are all on a mission to create a life they love. And
Yeah. So we're going to, I'm so excited. We're going to be blending all the incredible things that we have learned. So we each have our own sort of proprietary methods that are blends of neurocoaching and mine's a blend of neurocoaching and tapping. And a lot of the things that I've learned, I've really seen how it all comes together. So we've put these things together, and Chantel as well, and we're going to team up, and we are going to take you through a unique experience, like Chantel said, small group, to get you from feeling stuck or overwhelmed to living a life of truly unleashed life, and create how to become the creator of a life that you love.
it's just so exciting. Even just hearing you mention it, like, gives me goosebumps, because I'm like, how blessed am I to be able to get to connect with people of your caliber and do this, design this, create this, and then work together to help others on their journey, wherever they're at with it. So it's just incredibly exciting. And on the Facebook, we've got lots of me's and hearts and blowing up. So thank you guys. We're equally excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Because I don't know, like are you back in school, Chantel, where you are?
Yeah, where we are, some districts started last Monday and some started the previous Thursday. So we're like a week and a half in. And gotta say, stress levels are a little high.
Gonna say, how are people feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our COVID numbers, even before we started going back to school, we're slowly climbing. And so now we're like a week and a half in. So everyone's kind of anxiously waiting to see what's going to happen, around the 10-day mark from opening our school doors. And there's just so many differing views and standpoints and very strong opinions and emotions. And it's a little stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And we're about to start school in a couple of weeks, and there's a lot of that going on around here too. So I always say, like, teacher burnout, first of all, it's a real thing. Second of all, it comes along quickly. And so we want to help you stop living your life at the end of your rope, as I say, and start living the life that you love and that you choose. And so, like I said before, like we're not taught we're not taught how to handle that stress, even Chantel, or that overwhelm or burnout or tiredness. Like we just just focus on the positive and plug along, and that's really not going to help anybody, and it's just going to end up causing problems inside, as I mentioned. So yeah, we want to help you understand that there's a better way and show you how to do that. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yes. I know, just learning the lessons that you've learned and I've learned, and combining them together, and then bringing, what we've learned through Dr. Shannon Irvin's neurocoaching model, and what you've learned from Sarah Longoria's RRT, and us bringing our own experiences in, and just kind of making it this beautiful blend, just perfectly designed to meet people exactly where they're at. And it's called the Create a Life You Love roadmap, because it is just a super simple roadmap that anybody can follow. And it's just been so fun designing it. And we're going to take people through, like Sarah said, really creating that vision, because if you don't even have that vision for yourself of what your life could look like, then you're going to stay stuck because that's all you're imagining. So we're going to create a vision you love, and then we're going to dive deep into how to do the brain priming and really rewire those neural networks and create a mind you love. And then all those little daily habits that we talked about all come together to create a body you love. So it's nothing about, what size clothes you wear, what the number on some scale says, but it's, what do you need to do to wake up every day and live your best life and have the energy you need to accomplish whatever dream you desire? And then we tie it all together and we create a life you love. And coming from two educator brains, we've really streamlined it and we're doing some pretty cool things. And it's just, we're going to be so selective though about who we're going to let in this community, because we're just going to be very, very protective of it to make sure that the integrity of the group is there and everybody's supportive, and that it's just a beautiful place to be.
And we're going to put in, so excuse me, there's a bonus module in there that's going to go over it's going to show you, I'm going to walk you through like the science of tapping, how to tap, what to tap on, what to say, tapping with kids, all the things, so that you can become an expert and start implementing it into your life and helping. I call them little brains because my space is called Teaching Little Brains. The little brains in your life implement this as well. So like we said, they have those tools to manage those moments so they're not running out of the classroom and banging their heads on the walls and saying that they're stupid. And if they do, you have the tools and the understanding of how to interact and how to manage that and honor their feelings and connect and help foster their mental and emotional wellness. And so there's that. And also the tapping is going to be embedded in our weekly teaching. So you'll get to do it real time with us, to work through some of those things that you have going on so that you're more centered, you become less triggered by things, you have peace of mind, you have a sense of control, and you're able to just kind of, go and accept things and actually truly like start loving yourself for real is really one of the biggest bonuses.
Absolutely. So if you've been listening to this and you've been like, man, I've been really looking for my next step, and I'm really looking for a step-by-step process, and I want to be supported with ongoing coaching and have access to an exclusive community of other amazing women, we are going to be kicking this off very soon, next week, actually. And we're not messing around because you deserve to live a life that you love right now, not 6 months from now. And so next week will be a very special bonus week kickoff party. And it's kind of, because it's a 12-week program, this is just a bonus one for fast action takers, because we love to spoil our fast action takers. And we are going to start accepting applications, right? Drum roll, please. Now, I'm dropping the application link into the chat. And like I said earlier, we're going to be fiercely protective of this community. So yes, there is an application. It's a brief written application. And then you will schedule a call with one of us, because we really want to make sure that all of our members are at a place on their journey where you're ready for an immersive, holistic experience like this. And if at the end of the call, all parties, meaning whichever one of us you're speaking with, and you feel it's a good fit for you as well, then we'll share the next steps with you on how you can be part of the group. It is not a salesy, like we said, I'm an educator, Sarah's an educator. We're not salespeople. We're not going to be all like, you've all been on one of those yucky sales calls. We don't have time for that. We don't have the skills for that either. So it's just us asking some questions, getting to understand you, your journey, and seeing if we're a good fit. And if this program isn't a good fit, then we have some other resources that we can direct you to. We're not going to leave you hanging.
No, we won't.
So, yeah. And like we said, there are a ton of bonuses that we're not going to go into it all right now, but Sarah did mention the bonus tapping module that really, really goes deep. It's a whole I forget how long it is, but it's over 30 minutes. It's about an hour webinar with just Sarah taking you through all the steps. Like, I learned so much watching it. So you get access to that. And so if you have any questions or you want to know more, or you're just ready to get going right now, head over and submit an application to the link that we dropped. And okay, so Sarah, I think we're ready to hear more about the resource that you created and how everyone can get their hands on it.
Yeah, sure. So should I just put the link in the comments?
Yeah. Do you have the Facebook page open?
I did. I went over to mine. Yes, here we go. Okay, so I will put the link. Do you see it there, Chantel?
There's a little bit of a lag, so we're going to trust that it's going to show up here in a minute.
It should be there. I put the link in the comments from where I see the live is. If I've put it in the wrong place, I will put it in the right place when we're done. I may need your help.
Yeah. I'll keep my eye on it as you explain more about it, so they know.
Yeah, so it just is, it's going to show you, it kind of goes over a brief description of the science behind tapping, and then it shows you a diagram of the tapping points. So where to tap, what they're connected to, the benefits of tapping, how to tap with kids, and then just reminding you of like the 3 keys to tapping. So like kind of an outline of the process. And then there's a deeper dive. That bonus module inside our program is goes much deeper, and then we can actually do some tapping together.
And that's what I'm so excited for, the weekly coaching that we're going to get to do, where it's you and me on Zoom with our very small group of select members. And we get to walk them through a neurocoaching model, RRT tapping, use it in real time based on exactly what struggles they're struggling with right there in that moment. So it's so cool.
Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait I'm going to benefit from it and accelerate my journey too. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you everyone for joining us today on the Create a Life You Love video podcast. Definitely go to Sarah's tapping resource, and we hope to see your application come in. We are going to be closing the doors in a few days. So even if there's just a glimmer of interest, we encourage you to apply. And so say yes to yourself. You never know how far that ripple will go in your life and those that you get to impact. All right. Any last things you want to say, Sarah?
I just thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone for showing up, or if you're watching the replay, thanks so much. And yeah, hope to see you inside. And if you have questions, then find us. We're here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chantel.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with me on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.